Hi, I'm Gordon from Camera Labs, and this is my first looks review of the Canon EOS R50 V, a mirrorless camera aimed at video creators who want a compact body with interchangeable lenses. It will take photos too, but it's mostly designed for video. Announced in March 2025 alongside the PowerShot V1, the R50 V costs around £730 for the body alone, or around £960 in a kit with the new RFS 14-30 f4 to 6.3 IS STM power zoom lens. Phew. Coincidentally, the new PowerShot V1 also costs around £960 and shares a similar overall body size, albeit including a built-in 16-50 equivalent lens, and I've got a separate review all about it. Add the kit zoom to the R50 V and the barrel will of course protrude further than the V1, but you're getting the flexibility of a camera with interchangeable lenses and a bigger sensor behind them. Note, all of the prices that I've said were quoted to me before the actual launch of the cameras though, so please do check the links in the description for updated and current pricing, including for the US. So, Canon's V series has gone from just one model, the original V10, to 3 models, all aimed at video creators but with very different feature sets. As such, I wouldn't be surprised to see further V series products in the future. In this respect, it's similar to Sony's ZV series. As you might expect, given the name, the R50 V is a video-oriented version of the now 2-year-old R50 and shares the same 24-megapixel APS-C sensor with an RF lens mount. It can record uncropped, oversampled 4K up to 30p and now also offers 4K 50 and 60p, albeit with a crop. Measuring 119 by 74 by 45mm for the body alone, it's a little shorter and thinner than the R50, but at 370 grams including battery, it's essentially the same weight. It does feel really light in your hands. The height saving comes from losing the viewfinder of the R50, in turn leaving composition entirely to the fully articulated touchscreen, which can of course flip forward to face you, angle up or angle down for high or low angles, and back on itself for protection. Note the thumb wheel to the side, which can also be tilted up, down, left and right to access other functions. Personally speaking, I do prefer to have a viewfinder as I just find them easier to use than the screen even when making YouTube videos. But the R50 V's target audience apparently mostly use screens alone, so it would be a wasted feature. It's the same approach seen on, say, Sony's ZV-E10, and of course if you prefer to have a viewfinder and more of a hybrid experience, there's still the standard R50 available. On the top surface you'll find the power switch in the corner around the thumb dial. To its left is a mode dial, again aimed for video use. Note of the 8 positions, 7 are dedicated to video, leaving just 1 for stills, with the various photo modes like program and aperture priority selected from menus or using the touch screen. Also note the soft touch red record button in the corner with a collar to adjust the focal length on compatible power zoom lenses like the new 14-30. There's also a multi-function shoe on the top, the same as the R50, so it lacks the 5 pins for traditional, say, flash accessories. Instead, it's designed for multifunction accessories like optional microphones. Dear Canon, please, please, please make an EVF accessory for cameras with this shoe. Turning to the front, there's a second record button in the lower right corner as you face the camera, handy for when you're in front of the camera. Behind one flap on the left-hand side are 3.5mm microphone and headphone jacks, the latter not available on the R50, and a third jack for a remote cord. There's also USB-C and micro HDMI ports behind a second flap below. The USB port also supports UVC and UAC, allowing it to work as a standard webcam up to 4K 60p, during which it can also receive power over the same connection, so hopefully you shouldn't have battery issues. Under the camera you'll find the battery compartment with the R50 V powered by the same LP-E17 as the R50, and this is also where you'll insert an SD card for storage. Note the tripod thread on the underside, but also a second thread on the grip side, allowing you to mount the camera vertically for more easily making tall content. Also note when you turn the camera for vertical framing, the icons and display details all turn to stay upright. Nice. Now for the sensor, which as mentioned earlier is the same 24-megapixel APS-C part as the original R50, sporting dual-pixel CMOS 2 autofocus. Like the R50, there's sadly no IBIS, but there is digital stabilization available for video, while the new kit zoom also has optical image stabilization. In terms of video modes, the R50 V can record uncropped 1080 from 24 to 120p and uncropped 4K up to 30p, the latter oversampled from 6K's worth of data. A faster 4K 60 mode is also available, but it incurs a crop. All modes support servo AF continuous autofocus, including 4K 60 and 1080 120, and in my tests I managed just under 79 minutes of 4K 25p on a full battery before it ran out, and there were no overheating warnings at that point. Running under USB power using the charger for my MacBook Air 15-inch, I was able to achieve the maximum 2-hour recording time on the R50 V. Now there's no active cooling on the R50 V, but there is the option to let the camera run hotter to extend recording times. A cinematic mode is also available, which crops the image into a wider aspect ratio. 10-bit 422 video is available, while graders will be pleased to also find C-Log3, again not present on the R50. As far as I could see, all video is encoded using long GOP with no all-eye options, but I could have missed them. Now for some footage filmed with my test sample, and it was described by Canon as being beta, so the performance and the quality may vary. Here's how 1080 looks at 25p, and now at 50p, where I've slowed it by 2 times on my 25p timeline, and finally at 100p slowed by 4 times. Now back to 1080 at 25p, before switching to the oversampled 4K, also at 25p. And now finally the 4K 50 mode, cropped rather substantially, but playing back here at half speed. As for the new lens, here it is filming 4K 25p and demonstrating the power zoom feature, which can be operated either by the collar control on the body or a spring-loaded ring on the lens barrel that's pushed clockwise or anti-clockwise. Whichever control you use, there's 2 zooming speeds depending how far you push either of them. And I'm pleased to say that the lens stops and starts in small increments very smoothly. There's no lurching back and forth. Next for a focusing and depth of field test, using the 14-30 at 30mm 6.3. That is the maximum aperture here, so you're not going to be getting hugely blurred backgrounds, but you can of course swap the lens for something longer and brighter if that's the effect you're after, like the RF50mm f1.8. And now at 14mm f4, again the maximum aperture at the wide end of the new zoom. This is equivalent to 22mm, so it's delivering pretty wide coverage. That's ideal for environmental presentations and pieces to camera. But many potential owners of the R50 V kit will be wanting to use it for handheld vlogging. So here's a bunch of clips, all filmed in 4K 25p with the kit zoom at 14mm f4. Right, that's better. I've now enabled optical stabilization, which comes built into this kit zoom. No digital stabilization yet, you'll see that in just a moment, but it does allow me to relax and tell you a bit more about my other settings. I'm recording the audio so far with the built-in microphones on the R50 V. Little bit breezy, not too windy. There's no wind muffler accessory fitted to this. There isn't one as far as I'm aware. Right, I've now switched to standard movie stabilization, which as you can see takes a bit of a crop to the image. I'm a bit tighter on the frame, just about getting away with it. This is the floating head of doom has returned because I have digital movie stabilization set to enhanced, which takes the tightest crop in return, hopefully for the smoothest stabilization. But here with a lens that starts at 14mm on an APS-C Canon system, it's just not wide enough, I would say, for handheld vlogging. That's better. I've returned to standard digital stabilization along with optical here, so the crop isn't quite as tight. But I've made another change. Can you tell what it is yet? Yep, I've switched from the internal microphones to an external Rode Video Micro 2, which I've got mounted on the accessory shoe and connected to the 3.5mm microphone input. Okay, I'm in a much more exposed area here on the beach with the EOS R50 V, filming with the kit zoom at 14mm f4, so this is the widest coverage and the maximum blurriness you're going to see behind me here. Not particularly substantial at this focal length in the f4, but it gives you an idea nonetheless. And I'm recording the audio with the built-in microphones. So for comparison, I've now switched to an external microphone. This is the Rode Video Micro 2, connected to the 3.5mm mic input on the side of the camera. Of course, sometimes you're positioned behind the camera, so here's how the R50 V sounds from that location. I'm about 1 foot or 30 centimeters away. Filming with the built-in microphones, there is no wind muffler attached. It is a little bit breezy, so you might be hearing more of that than me. Here's the R50 V filming 4K 25p with the 14-30 at 14mm f4, and this is with optical stabilization alone, so there is no crop due to the digital stabilization. This is the full widest coverage that you're going to be getting at arm's length, and I'm using the built-in microphone to record the audio. And the last thing to mention is, because f4 is fairly modest and the lighting is fairly modest, I've actually been able to get away with a motion-friendly shutter speed of a 50th of a second. Yay! Okay, I've now moved indoors with the R50 V and I'm recording the sound with the built-in microphones. This room is nice and quiet, but it is very echoey, a lot of hard surfaces, so you will get better sound quality indoors if you've got some soft surfaces, or of course if you use a lapel microphone. But the reason that I'm here is because I want to demonstrate the new close product or product presentation mode. So let's start with an easy one. This is a TV remote control which is about 18 centimeters, so I should be able to go a bit closer to that. And this will also be showing you the kind of depth of field effects that you can get with me going slightly blurry in the background. Now, interestingly, this is an auto exposure mode, and even though this lens has access to an f4 aperture at this focal length, it's chosen f5.6, so it could have delivered more blurring. I'm not quite sure why it's done that, but let's move on. Here is a nice vintage camera, a Sony T1. This is only about 10 centimeters across, and look at that. I can almost fill the frame with it, and I can still be in the shot, nice and blurry in the background. Should be back in focus, nice and blurry, so it will focus on whatever is closest to it and then return to me when I put it away. And if you're into cosmetics, here is a lipstick which is about 7 centimeters long, so I probably won't be able to absolutely fill the frame with it, but look at that, it's very close. And again, I can pop up from the top and it's ignoring me because there is something far more interesting. Look at these lovely Keith Haring graphics. Very, very nice. Or if you're perhaps doing a sewing channel, here's some thread. Again, I'm on the side, threads here, nice and focus, and it will respond very, very quickly. And as soon as I take it out, it's back to me. Hey guys, look at this lovely thread that I've just bought. What would you like to see me make with it? So you can see that this is a far more practical camera to use for product presentations than some previous models. Meanwhile, audio can be recorded in 24-bit linear PCM with 4 channels, or 16-bit AAC in 2 channels. And finally, the R50 V also becomes Canon's first camera to work with the new Live Switcher mobile app for live streaming with up to 3 different cameras, all providing different views. Just before wrapping up, a quick look at the new RFS 14-30 kit zoom, measuring 67mm in diameter, 62mm long, and weighing just 180 grams. It's got 2 rings, a spring-loaded zoom control, followed by a smooth, customizable control ring. At one end is a plastic mount without weather sealing, and at the other a 58mm filter thread. As noted, there's optical stabilization with a claimed 4 stops of compensation, and you've already seen it in action. The range on a Canon APS-C body is equivalent to 22 to 48mm, making it a bit wider than most kit zooms at the short end, while the aperture is fairly modest at f4 to 6.3, so don't expect to see substantial blurring at either end of the range. I believe it should cost around £380 when bought by itself. Let me know if you'd like to see a review of it. And that's all I can say for now until I spend more time with the camera. The EOS R50 V's feature set and design should certainly appeal to anyone whose primary focus is filming video, although if you can live without C-Log, a headphone jack and the video-oriented body design, you could achieve mostly similar results with the original R50 while enjoying a built-in viewfinder and a slightly lower price tag thanks to age. But to be fair, Sony's been very successful with the ZV-E10 II, which costs a similar amount to the R50 V depending on region. It's certainly becoming quite a crowded market though for video creators, and any camera aimed at these people will also have to compete with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which is my own preferred model for casual handheld work. And if you'd like to see how I personally use the Pocket 3, check out my travel tips channel where most of the videos are entirely filmed with it on location. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.